a few recap. We looked at the previous steps, and we specifically pointed at staying focused on what you need to learn, as important as that is, without being focused. In fact, focus is a weapon or a tool for your daily activities. In fact, literally, the truth is, we talk about this based on experience. What you need to recognize everything you've learned, everything you've mastered is focus. If you're not focused on the chart, those things you've learned will come, but then you won't even recognize that they are happening. And then you will keep making mistakes. So it's important that you learn the skill set of focus. It's a skill itself. Learning to stay focused is a skill because a lot of traders multitask. You have to, when it's a time for your trading, you lock in and you're not looking left or right. You just lock in on the screen and stay on it until when you're done with a particular. If I literally this, although my routine is kind of more extreme, but there's something I do to really highlight my level of focus, not just in trading. This is not just what I do, not just in trading, but then to highlight my focus in every area. This is what I do. Um, of course, my day starts at 4, and when I wake up by that 4 till 12 or till 12, right? I do not talk to anybody. No social media, like that's what I mean. No social media. It's just work. Just work from that time until 12. And you find out that you achieve more than you don't. And also, social media has really taken a lot of things from people lately. You should adopt this. Only check your social media twice a day. As beautiful as that is, it will give you much time to be productive, to think on the things that really matter. The financial market is already enough to to swap your time off you, to waste it around doing something. And so we talked about staying focused on what you need to learn. As important as that is, you should always incorporate that in your daily lives. So let's look at number 2 rule or step 2. Step 2 is about dealing with losses. Dealing with losses. So we have trading rule 1. Now, under dealing with losses, we have trading rule 1. I'll put it on the, I'll just put it out on the chart. All right, so we have here dealing with losses, okay? And then under this, we have trading rule. One, right? Okay, so we have this how it goes. So we're gonna look at this concept as a broad concept this morning, and we trust we trust the Holy Spirit to bring rapid understanding and of course perfection. Now, predefine what a loss is in every potential trade. Predefine what a loss is in every potential trade. Now, by predefine, I mean determine what the market has to look like or do. Determine how the market has to look like or do to tell you that the trade no longer presents an opportunity, or to tell you that the trade presents an opportunity. At least not an opportunity in the time frame in which you're trading. You know, a lot of the times, in fact, this is inclined in human anatomy. We don't want to take responsibility, or we have prefer randomness, even if we don't like the word random, but we have prefer to be bombed into things other than plan things to happen. We love to have, or should I say, faith work on our lives, or the things they call luck. We have preferred those words because they require nothing. We are scared of putting effort. we don't have the fortitude and the courage and the faith to believe that I have to wait for something, and then when I seize it, I know that this is it, and it clicks. It is not an arrangement in our biology. So you have to put it in because you don't want to be like um, the other humans, the other persons. You really want to step out of the crowd, and stepping out of the crowd can only mean that you act in a more strategic way. But when your beliefs about losses are restructured, the possibility of a losing trade will not create any threat of pain. In our last session, we really discussed about pain, all right? We really discussed about how pain can really influence and create some level of hesitations or fear. And that would really tap on your operative skills or your trading skills. Now, most successful traders restructured their beliefs about losses after they lost one or more fortune. And we have a lot of them. We have a lot of them. A lot of them, we fail us to start sharing those experiences. All right. Now, they experienced their worst fears about losing, and they came to the realization that they didn't have anything to fear if they just did not want um they didn't have anything to fear if they just did what needs to be done. Now there's an adage that says you push a goat to the wall, it doesn't have anything anywhere else to do, it just has to come back. So you have to get to that point. You have to get to that point when you've lost touch with yourself, you've lost touch with with your account size, with your account statement. You've lost touch. You just want to do what you have to do. And then why staying focused? Believe me, you're gonna do everything that is in your best interest. All right. So when you lose total fear, you in fact you find out that in fact you define losses and not just don't see losses as losses. Firstly, you define losses as an opportunity to only or as a pointer, as a navigator to what you have to do, to what you have to learn, become more. Then when you see that way, you won't put up fear anymore because fear is one of the strongest diminished factor to traders' potentials here. You get, so you just learn how to deal with losses. That's what we're looking at it tonight, this morning. I beg your pardon. So what needs to be done? Confront the possibility of being wrong, and subsequently not avoid the inevitability of taking a loss. You know, another thing I talked about here is traders don't want to be wrong. 90% of traders don't want to be wrong. But how can you not be wrong sometimes in a global market as this? Being wrong doesn't make you stupid, right? It simply makes you human because only God is perfect. It simply makes you human. But that inclined biology that doesn't want our ego to be hurt. And no matter how secret, some persons may say, why do I need to be um who am I competing with to be wrong? You're competing with yourself most times, but all the time. But when you realize that it's not even you versus the market, it's you versus you, changes. The struggle changes to a positive one. But most times we put up a battle line between us and the financial market and the market itself. And we just want to prove something to the market. We just want to prove that we are beast traders. We just want to prove that we are we are good at what we do. Yes, you're good. The truth is you're good in yourself. The most essential skills you need to learn are not even the skills of how to predict. We're not even taking prediction here. We're talking about visualization and analysis. The powerful skills you have to learn is how to control your own emotions and regulate them. And then being able, because when you're able to regulate your emotions, be able to control yourself, you will not be aroused by a losing trade or be set into a fear state, a fearful state to begin hesitation because fear is the ultimate diminishing factor to failure in the financial market. When you're afraid, you only see the object of your fear, or you're narrowed into the object of your fear. So it now becomes a perpetual loop, a vicious circle that you repeat often and on until unless you break out of that circle. So you sort of point. So what you want to do is this: you just want to learn how to control and regulate your emotions. That even when you take a loss, it doesn't impact you. And if it doesn't impact you, you're still stable enough to know the things you have to do, and then to do it as often as possible. So a lot of times confronting and accepting the inevitability of taking a loss. So confronting and accepting the inevitability of a loss is a trading skill. Mentioned it is a trading skill. Certainly a skill learned the hard way for most. Is that okay? Yeah. But nevertheless, an essential component at the at the foundation of virtually everything you need to learn to become a successful trader. Now, the relatively few successful traders in the market today did it the hard way. You, on the other hand, have the opportunity right now to do it much more easier. There will be two mental components at work to help you acquire the skill, right? So first is your understanding of why it is so essential to confront the possibility of a loss. And then if you don't, you will generate the fear and end up creating the very experience that you are trying to avoid. I explain this. Now, when you really understand this concept, it will become unacceptable to you to trade from the old perspective of loss avoidance. A lot of people trade to not to not taking a loss. In fact, their their track or should I say their proof of success is how many trades they took without a loss. But that's not true. Believe me. In fact, you're only heaping a, a wider range of ego that when the market shatters it, it's going to really flop you off the right perspective or the right mindset to become consistent or to becoming a consistent trader. We mentioned the first one, and I mentioned that all of these things are mental skills that you need to learn to become effectively. So, and I mentioned that the first one is um, your understanding of why it is essential to confront possibility of a loss. You should take note of that first or one. Your understanding of why it is um, of why it's essential to confront the possibility of your loss. That's number one. Then number two is your willingness to change your definition of what it means to lose. Your willingness to change what it means to lose. All right. Number two, your willingness to change your definitions of what it means to lose. Now, by using some of the mental exercises, all right, you can change these definitions by using your thoughts instead of having to lose everything or practically everything you own to get the same place. That place is um, losing do not diminish me. All right. When you lose, it doesn't mean that your skill set has reduced, or it doesn't mean that you're no longer a successful trader, or it doesn't mean that you're no longer a market analyst. Neither does it mean that you're no longer a professional trader. No, losing does not diminish you. Does not diminish you as a person, all right? Now, the sooner you believe it, the easier it will be to identify and execute a losing trade. It's important to take this exercises as an urgent resources as possible because they are really they are really now by making the execution of losing trade an automatic function of your trading strategy, you make yourself psychologically available to take advantage of the next opportunity of the next opportunity. and of the next opportunity. Just keep going. At the end of our training, I believe I will just hand you over a simple strategy that you just have to use your heart and your eyes while working on. As simple as that. It trading, a lot of people make it so complex that it's so difficult. The brain cannot really focus on a lot of things at the same time. But when you give the brain simple tasks to do, it can master it easily and function effectively. Trading shouldn't be that complex or complicated. If you can really, really harmonize it and work with your heart, that's the most. You don't just work with your eyes. Now, you make yourself psychologically available to take advantage of the next opportunity, even if that opportunity is the same direction of the losing trade. You just go out, you just go, you that is even if the opportunity is in the same direction of the losing trade, you just got out of, all right? Even if that trade you feel or you perceive that it's still going to be a losing trade, you don't have anything to lose. There is nothing, absolutely nothing to lose. Remember the words of Jesus said, "He that that holds onto his life so tightly is going to lose it. For he that is what is not mindful of it will have it." It's still the same thing. If you're too skeptical about not losing, you will just end up creating those experiences that will make you lose. It's just how it works. But once you become so open, you come with an open mind. You come just to learn, just to experience what the moment has, just to act upon what you know. Wow, you're just opening doors for greater insight. You're just opening doors for higher wisdom. And you will be so set up in the moment or in the zone, like Douglas mentioned it, he called it the zone. You'll just be set up in this zone that you are able to just know what you have to do at the right time instinctively. You don't need a philosopher. You don't need a prophet or a seer. You just tell you become your own seer. You just see things, you feel things, you know them, and you act upon them, and you end up doing just the best thing you have to do. So dealing with losses, we mentioned two basic practices you have to incorporate into your training skill. One is what is your understanding of why it is so essential to confront the possibility of a loss. And then we talked about that rapidly. Do not forget, I need you to write these points down and go back on them until it becomes a second nature. Then the second one we talked about is your willingness to change your definition of what it means to lose. What it means to lose. I think I talked about this some time ago that as long as you are on the growth ratio, as long as you are on the lifeward momentum, there's no losses for you. In fact, it's a win-win game for you. As long as you're continuously learning, you're continuously growing, it's a win-win game for you. You are just on the paradigm of wins. So let's look at the trading route through. This is one. So let's look at the root two of this. Remember, we are still looking at dealing with losses. Now, trading root two. All right. Let's look at trading root two. So you should put it down also. It's as important as that. All right. So execute your losing trades immediately upon perception that they exist. Still dealing with losses. We talked about trading root one. Let's talk about trading root two. And I'm saying that you should execute your losing trades immediately upon its perception that they exist. When losses are predefined and executed without hesitation, there is nothing to consider, weigh, or judge, and consequently, nothing to tempt yourself with. There will be no threat of allowing yourself the possibility of ultimate disaster. If you find yourself considering, weighing, or judging, then you are either not predefining what a loss is, or you are not executing them immediately upon perception. We've talked about this a lot of times, and I mentioned that 90% of the problems, um, you might feel like you are a mediocre trader, but that's not true. A lot of traders, especially Mark Douglas, he went on a tour trying to figure out the best traders on this in this particular field. He found out that working with a lot of them, they lack the confidence to execute their trade. They lacked the confidence to execute their trade. Before they make an execution, even the floor traders, those you call your broker managers, they go around asking their colleagues for confirmation before an execution. And that's because they lack self-confidence. So you might be thinking that somebody out there is doing it much better, but no, you are. Just stick on what you have and develop it to your full potential. Like I mentioned before, it's not you against them. It's you versus you. So when you're able to build this internal skill set, we talked about self-confidence, faith in yourself, you pull away fear. That's all there is to actually take advantage of everything you're learning. Now, when you're able to step up to the equation, everything you've been learning all of this time will become so visible to you. And you will know when to act upon the things you learned and then when not to act upon them. Understand? Now, there will be no threat of allowing yourself the possibility of ultimate disaster measuring. Like if you find yourself considering weighing judging, then you are either not predefining what a loss is, or you're not executing them immediately upon perception. In which case, if you don't, and it turns out to be profitable, you are reinforcing an inappropriate behavior that will inevitably lead to disaster. Now, let me talk about this a bit. If you find out a trade, if you find out if you perceive it an opportunity in the financial market, and because you are scared and you hesitate or you're not sure, that means you're not confident in yourself, and the trade, and you probably miss the trade or just let it go, and that trade turns out to become a winner, a big winner, most times it happens, you find out that you're locking yourself in a negative behavior because the pain of that trade going is more painful than the pain of getting in on that trade and losing it. So imagine you're accumulating such pains. Psychologically, you're heaping them in your mind. Psychologically, you're heaping them. And they are really, really not good for you for the longer term. So you just have to what? To take action now and move along with it. Whatever the outcome is, you did it. If it didn't go well, you look at why it didn't. You learn from that mistake, right? But then not acting upon it at all is the worst situation you can ever put yourself into, right? It's as important as that. Or if you don't and lose and lost, you will create a negative cycle of pain, like I mentioned, that once started will be difficult to stop. The next error after letting a loss get out of hand is usually not taking the next opportunity. All right. After which we get so angry at ourselves for passing up that opportunity that we make ourselves susceptible to any number of other trading errors, like taking a trade that was a tip from another trader, which inevitably is always a loss. Right? Now, it is important for you to note that once you completely trust yourself to cut your losses, you will eventually get to the point where you may not have to predefine what a loss is. There are traders who have reached such a high degree of objectivity and trust that they can get into a trade and know when it is a loser without having to predefine it for themselves. All of these things are in phases, are in stages. And it is your responsibility to decide that you are going to start growing. And you cannot start growing unless you put your heart and your soul to it. They let the market define it for them based on their comprehensive knowledge of the various participants involved and their knowledge of the various relationships between price movement and time. However, the reason why they were able to learn what they know about the nature of the market is because their focus of attention widened to include more undistorted information, leading to greater insights. Once they learned, first, however, to trust themselves. I need to emphasize on that. Keep in mind that fear is really the only thing that keeps us from learning anything new. Fear. You can't learn anything new about the nature of the market's behavior if you are afraid of what you may do or can't do that is not in your best interest. By predefining and cutting your losses short, you are making yourself available to learn the best possible way to let your profits grow. So your most important uh, job as a trader is firstly to make sure that you put yourself in a situation where you have nothing to fear. Initially, in my trading career, I lost so much that fear just died out, literally. I really have nothing to fear because there is no amount of losses right now that I've not actually acquired at my stage, right? So at the point, losing was a part of me. In fact, that's I think that's why the Bible mentions something like it said, unless it's seed, it's a grain of seed falls to the ground and dies, it does not come alive. So you have to kill that part of you that doesn't want to lose before you can even start winning. If that part does not die totally, you cannot rise to the equation of consistency. It just have to happen that way. So I really want you to take note of all of these essential points that I've mentioned. They are as important as they are. On our next section, we'll be looking at step 3. I don't want us to take it all at once so it doesn't weigh so heavy on your mind. But then we take it step by step. And when you deal with all of this, dealing with the losses, the step 1 and the step 2, or the trading rule 1 and trading rule 2, then we can proceed to the next step. The next step 3 is becoming an expert at just one market behavior. Becoming an expert at just one market behavior. And then I promised you that at the end of our training, I'm just going to give you a very simple market strategy. Very simple. All you just have to do is what work with your heart and then your eyes. Work with your heart and then your eyes. That's all you need. It's as simple, no mathematical equation. You just have to calculate and do this. All of those things are just complexities that people attach to things just to make it look strong. It actually, if you can stay focused enough, if you can build focus, that's why a lot of the times I emphasize on you building. There is no way to learn other than by learning. There is no absolutely way. You just have to practice it every day until it becomes. In fact, if you don't do it every day, you can't progress at it, especially as complex as this thing is, or they may say it's complex. But then you have to build a particular routine where you wake up every day and you come to the chart every like said day. 30 minutes, you can grow it to 1 hour. You can grow from 30 minutes of 5 to an hour. But then you do not come to the chart every day and look at it is a crime against your own self, against your future self, against the success you're craving to have. It cannot work. You have to you have to come back on it every day until it becomes a part of you, until it becomes a second nature. What does it mean for something to become a second nature? For that thing to become who you are. And how can you make something become who you are? Is by putting it to you. You eat every day, just like the way you eat every day. Do this every day, as long as the market is open. No matter how little, it just clicks. All right, we're going to stop here. And then on our next section, we'll talk about becoming an expert at just one market behavior. And that'll be taking us to step 3. Until then, please, I will see you on our next section. Have a lovely weekend. It's Friday. Stay safe. and make sure to always go back on previous recordings. That's a better way of expanding your horizon. Thank you so much. I'll catch you guys next week. Bye for now.